Good afternoon, everyone. I've just been in Los Angeles. There were no suits in Los Angeles. This is very suit heavy, but it's good. I like it. I know, I haven't got any suits. Okay, so Unlocked, I'm the Global Chief Creative Officer for Unlocked. My name's JC Oliver. This is a huge number. It's probably going to be the same number as the trade deficit after Trump's 6 months in office. But for now, it's the global media spend. 50% of that is digital. 50% of that number is mobile. It's becoming harder to access that number because there's a lot of media proliferation, which means there's audience fragmentation, which means we've got a lot more inventory, which means we fill it with more ads. A lot of those ads are shit. They don't look good, which means we download ad blockers and we don't want to watch advertising. We don't need more advertising, but the fact is this number means that we have to. It works, but we don't just want to add more fuel to an already bad fire. The other challenge we've got, which is, it's a secular trend at the moment, but it's definitely becoming structural, is that Google and Facebook are taking the majority of that money off of the table. They, in fact, take 75% of every dollar spent on digital marketing spend around the world. In the US, they take 85%. It's a massive problem. If we want to change the way the model works, we've got to work on a way that isn't search and isn't identity. Some analyst I was reading last week, in fact, said this year they've actually taken 103% of all digital dollars. Not only have they taken every single dollar off the table, they're leaning into your lunchbox, they're cutting the crusts off the sandwich, and the collective of everyone else is down 3%. We have to think about how we do something differently. So back in the day, technology has now changed our consumption behavior, but you used to wake up, put your slippers on, put your dressing gown on, smoke a pipe, go downstairs, pick up the paper from the mat, and drink a coffee. I've never done that in my life. I think only Hugh Hefner still does that. What we tend to do is on the right-hand side of the screen is we wake up in the morning and the first thing we do is we reach for our phones. We check the news, we check what's going on around the world, and we read emails, we read messages. So the way we fundamentally access our content is through mobile and has seriously changed. So mobile is the glue to our lives. It is the lens through which we see our world. I call these the 7 Ps. Here are my 7 Ps. Portability and pervasiveness. We all have phones, hence the reason they're mobile, they're always on us, but it means that they can interact with any other phone. If you've got a smart home or a smart car, this is the remote control to your life. They are very powerful and they're very specific in their precision. They create billions and trillions of executions per second. They're very fast and they're also personal. They're also our privacy archive. When I was in Los Angeles last week, it was a very bizarre week. I was there for election night. But I asked a bunch of people to hand their phones over and open them and give them to someone that they didn't know. You should see the anxiety rise when someone's accessing your phone who you don't know. If they know more about you than your partners, they're almost your life partner. So they become a very big part of our lives. How do we monetize those eyeballs? Back in the day, there was no real monetization. Today, in-app advertising, in browser advertising is not that great. We need a new model, and at Unlocked, we think we found that. What we want to try and do is give value back to the customer. We want to give value back to our brand and publishing partners, and we also want to give money and revenue back to the telcos. This is a win-win scenario. This doesn't have to be a disruptive model where there's only one person that wins and one person that loses. We want to enable all of these factors. The customer and the consumer at the top, the more they engage, the more they consume, the more value they get back. That will be hard value in terms of money off of their bill, but it will also be a virtual currency which they can exchange for listening to music on Spotify, watching movies on Netflix, buying groceries from Tesco, or going to the cinema. For the publishers, the brand and the publishers, they get their messages in front of people before anyone else does anything, before you go direct to a website, before you go through Facebook, or before you go through Google. By doing that, by virtue of that fact, it means their yield is higher, and if we can create some sexy advertising, it means the engagement's better. From a telco perspective, we give them money back, and it means from a customer acquisition, customer retention, and loyalty perspective, that should also go up. So who are we and what do we do? Unlocked is a mobile-first, ad-funded content and data platform that gives value back to you as a customer, gives value back to the telcos, and gives value back to our brand and advertisers. As you can see from this screen, when you come in and unlock your phone, that real estate that exists is not being monetized. If we can put some sexy messaging there, if we can put some relevant, contextual, highly targeted messaging there, you can just see from this slide, before you start accessing Facebook or going direct to a website, we can create a place where people can get engaged content. And then click through from there. Hopefully it will be a greater yield for advertisers. Here's a little video of what we do. We don't just want to pollute the marketplace and give back corporate benefit. Our vision is to really change the way that people interact, use, and pay for everything through their mobile devices. But we need something a little bit more purposeful. So we feel as though with the value that we're creating within this community, we want to give at least $500 million back by 2025 to this community. That will be either hard or virtual currency that we give back, but we feel as though the world doesn't need any more ads, but it definitely needs a change in the model of how we approach this. In terms of the flow, it's quite simple. At the top, you've got brands and advertisers that are putting all that $442 billion into the pot. We're in touch with those people. We've had over 350 brands in the last 12 months alone. We're also plugged into the exchanges. When you then go through our Unlock platform, you unlock the value, which goes back to the telco, which eventually goes back to the customer. We launched 12 months ago. We're in 4 markets already. Biggest ones, US and UK. We've got 2 term sheets on the table at the moment. We're very excited about that. In terms of an eCPM, 19% above the industry average, and our monthly revenue over the last quarter is increasing by a huge 30%. Here in the UK, we've launched with Tesco Mobile. So we work with Anthony and his team to create a white-labeled approach. So the consumer doesn't necessarily know about the Unlock brand. We white-label that for telcos. You can see on the graph here an exponential rise in terms of people accessing and using our product. When they do, they really like it. Sure, when we put it through the optic of saying, yes, you have to consume more advertising in order to get some value back, there is some pushback, but once you start using that, we see some real upside. So just to conclude, if I was investing $1 into the media business this time around right now, I would look to see how I could do that with a different approach, a more innovative approach. You need to be smart how you do this. The smart play, in my opinion, which is why I'm here, is to be using Unlock. The more you consume, the more value you get back to do the things you love. Thank you very much.